Hello, my pretties. It's Lion Queen here. Now, today we are going to be doing another episode of Shadows and Pretties. This is episode 247. Now, this movie is turning 25 years old on July 10th, which is also known as 2 days before my dad's birthday. So I thought I would go ahead and, pretty much do a movie review on this movie. And most of you guys who grew up maybe in the 90s and possibly early mid 2000s may remember this movie. Maybe you might have read the books, or maybe you've watched, the TV series that came out in the 90s. Well, surprisingly, some people have seen it, that from what I remember watching, and then there's some people that haven't, that I have not seen. But of course, it's got pretty good. It's pretty much one of those very few live action movies that did pretty good. Although they did have a few changes that I will be going through in a little bit. Now, this movie I'm going to be reviewing. I think I did see it in one of the TriStar Pictures videotapes, or maybe it was the Columbia Pictures tapes. Well, it's one of them. I did see a trailer for this movie, and that's called Madeline. Most of you guys remember this movie from 1998. I personally remember from it because, well, it came out the year I was born, but my mom was still pregnant with me at the time, and when this movie was released. So it was a month before my birth, before I was born. So it came out a month before I was born. But I mean, I was a baby when I went after that movie came out. But this is definitely one of those movies that I really do thought it was pretty good live action movie of, based on something that came out in, cartoonish. Like, take a look at Scooby Doo. Like, Scooby Doo did a pretty good with the live action, especially with, the second one. And I know a couple other movies did pretty good with, with the live action atmosphere. But I personally really thought it was pretty neat for what it is for these movies. So I thought I would go ahead and pretty much talk about this movie. So, and, with that being said, it's got pretty much Nigel Hawthorne, who voices Tarzan as well. Well, not Tarzan, but he voices Professor Porter, aka Jane's father, Professor Porter, in the 1999 Tarzan animated movie that came out by Disney, which I thought it was pretty well made in detail. Now, with that being said, I definitely gotta really say that it's got pretty good acting. I mean, we got Frances McDormand, who's Miss Clavel, and I mean, she's a pretty good actress. And if you did hear me, my voice is like really acting off. That's because I've got allergies the day I'm recording this. So, yeah, I gotta bear with me. It's my allergies really acting up. So, yeah, I'm not sick, for any of you guys are wondering. But even though no, Frances McDormand actually really did a pretty good job on these movies. I mean, I've seen her in a couple of movies, but some of them I can't really remember. But it's got pretty good acting, and it's got pretty good voices of the characters. And I mean, Hattie Jones playing as Madeline was just a pretty good child actor for a pretty good for a pretty good live action movie. Now, anyways, surprisingly, instead of the what I found really surprising about the plot of the movie, instead of the film taking place in 1939, it actually takes place in 1956. Apologies for that. And many of the landmarks from the book appear in the film, although some were too crowded with the modern traffic to be used. So, yeah. But the principal photography of this, movie took place pretty much in Paris, in France, from, September of 1997 to January of 1998. So, of course, it's pretty good character for the movie, and especially with, that it came out on VHS and DVD at one point. But it's definitely one of those fewer live action movies that did pretty good. I mean, despite the fact that, Some really good live action movies turn out to be really bad or something, but this is definitely one of them I could definitely say was pretty good. Of course, the plot of this movie, I'm going to get started with that because I've been monologuing for so long. Basically, this is about a young girl named Madeline who attends a Catholic boarding school being taught by a strict but loving nun named Miss Clavel and fed by the passionate French chef Helen. Now, in the TV show, I remember Mrs. Murphy was the cook's name in the animated TV series, but I guess they might have changed the names and from maybe in for this movie, or maybe it was Chef Helen was just the name of the character in the book who happens to be the chef, but maybe when the TV series they kind of change it up or something. So basically, what's really stands out was that Madeline is pretty much an orphan coming from neither a family nor money and maintains a positive, mischievous attitude as well as is best friends with another girl named Aggie. However, Madeline gets stricken with appendicitis and gets taken to the hospital where she gets her appendix taken out. Pretty much just like the one TV episode of the live action one, but of course they made it animated. So, of course, Madeline sees Lady Covington, who turns out to be terminally ill, who, of course, was the wife of Lord Covington, aka Lord Cuckoo Face. So, of course, Lord Covington cares for the school and for the girls, having to attend herself in her youth. Lady Covington reveals that she's carved her birth name, Marie Chapelle, into one of the dorm's bed frames and asks Madeline to find out if her name is still there. So a few days later, when Madeline leaves the hospital, she eventually learns that Lady Covington has died. So of course, that's what Miss Clavel tells her when they are exiting out of the hospital. And of course, the Spanish ambassador purchases the property next door to the house, which of course happens to be Pepito's parents and Pepito. I honestly really can say right now a lot of people shipped Madeline and Pepito, which I thought that was cute. It's a cute ship. Like, nothing explicit or anything because the characters are minors, but if they were adults, it would be different if it's explicit shipping, like if they were adults, but as kids, it kind of sounds wrong to ship someone explicit, NSFW with minors, because it sounds wrong, to be honest, and, that's something I do not condone at all. Now, of course, though, all the other girls seem to be, interested in Pepito, although Madeline seems to be irritated by the noise he creates riding around on his Vespa, which happens to be a scooter of some sort, calling him a bad hat. Of course, we eventually find out that Lord Covington announces the plans on closing the school down following his wife's passing and selling the building. Although Miss Clavel is unnerved by Pepito's bothering her girls, she attempts to make peace with the boy by giving his tutor, Leopold, a toolbox for him. However, her actions were unsuccessful, as Pepito steals Madeline's drawing pad and vandalizes it during a field trip, which, of course, that's just Pepito trying to tease Madeline, because it's pretty much one of those guys that, when you're in school, a boy picks on you, you're like, oh my god, can this boy, fuck off? That's basically literally what it is. But, in elementary school, boys like to pick on girls because they like them, or maybe they just want attention or just to tease them. But whatever the reason may be, but it depends on the guy and it depends on the girl they pick on. Of course, Pepito invites the girls to his birthday party, which unnerves them by showing a mouse and joking about killing it. Eventually, though, Madeline gets into a physical fight with Pepito and causing the girls' visit to be cut short. So, Madeline eventually falls into the Serene River while standing on the edge of a bridge going over the river. However, she gets rescued by a Labrador retriever named Genevieve, who follows Madeline to the school, and the girls then convince Miss Clavel to keep her, despite the fact that she's allergic to dogs. But of course, surprisingly enough, I don't know if Miss Clavel got over her allergic reaction or something in the TV series. Because in the TV series, we see Genevieve there all the time. So maybe that was just, something added in the live action movie that didn't appear to be in the, animated movie. Animated series. I don't really know. But of course, Madeline decides to, have Pepito's house and sabotaging Lord Covington's attempts to sell the property. So the two eventually became friends, but her efforts are ultimately discovered by Lord Covington, who blames Miss Clavel, and eventually Madeline tries to take responsibility for her involvement, though Lord Covington is unmoved by her apology and or the motivations for her actions, especially after she accidentally called him Lord Cuckoo Face. Eventually, though, he then discovers Genevieve in the shed and revenges against the girls, turns her loose into the night. So upset after Genevieve got away, Miss Clavel takes the girls around to see if they can find Genevieve, but having no luck. So they take the girls to like a circus fair in hopes of cheering them up. Eventually, Madeline blames herself for what happened and fearing that she'll have no place to go as an orphan once the school closes. So she decides to join the circuits and hoping to make some friends, find a home within the community there. So eventually, Aggie swears not to tell about Madeline leaving. Eventually, Leopold tries to kidnap, pretty much Pepito, as well as the help of trio of clowns known as the Idiots, kidnapping them, hoping to ransom him. Probably, I don't know. I don't know if it was human trafficking that they were doing or something, but it's kind of something really messed up. So, Madeline tries to save Pepito, but she ends up getting kidnapped as well. So Aggie confesses Miss Clavel that Madeline ran away while Pepito's parents discover that he's missing. Eventually, Madeline and Pepito manages to break free from their bonds and find a motorcycle, to which Madeline uses her hair clip to start it. And that's when Pepito drives them away, using his experience on his Vespa. So the two get pursued by Leopold and the Idiots, but Miss Clavel, in driving in search of Madeline, picking up the Genevieve along the way, is able to cause the Idiots to crash into the lake. Eventually, the police arrives and arrest the villains, while Miss Clavel, Madeline, Pepito, and Genevieve head back to the school. Shortly after Lord Madeline returns, Lord Covington arrives and shares that he sold the property to the ambassador of Uzbek Soviet Socialist Republic. After Madeline realized that he wanted to sell the school, as it reminds him of his wife passing, she empathizes with Lord Covington, sharing her experience with losing her own family and assuring them that Lord Covington is still with him and the school. And Miss Clavel promises Madeline they'll be together regardless of what happens. Eventually, Lord Covington is moved by Madeline's words and sincerity, but is regretfully tells her that the girls that there's nothing he could do. He's already sold the property. With a happy twist, the ambassador, also moved by Madeline, decides to back out of the sale and allows the girls to keep their school. So that's why the film concludes with the girls and, Miss Clavel attending a fair, accompanied by, one of Louis Armstrong's song, What a Wonderful World. And, yeah, that's how the movie ends. It's a pretty good movie. I really do like this movie from the 90s, even though it's got pretty good live action, concept. I mean, I'm looking at, some of the art on there, like some of the screen caps of, the movie. It's just flat out amazing how they managed to take everything and make it something, from that was made into a cartoon originally, turn it out to make it, live action and flat out amazing. I mean, they did a pretty good job with the live action Scooby Doo, so I could definitely say they did a pretty good job with the live action Scooby Doo movie, although this was made in the 90s. So, with that being said, the movie itself, I really thought it was a really cute movie, and I thought it was a really nice movie involving Madeline, going on this adventure, trying to save the school, involves her getting kidnapped, etc. It's just flat out amazing how well made they made this movie, have a great concept of the adventure. I mean, the fact is, lots of, movies that have been turned into live action, they either suck or don't work really good. But one of the most famous ones they've done pretty damn well done was Scooby-Doo, the live action Scooby-Doo movie. That one they did was pretty epic. I'm not going to lie. They did a pretty epic job doing a really great concept with Scooby-Doo, especially with the live action. Now, I do apologize for me, sounding a little bit, different. That's because of my allergies, and I do want to say I do sincerely apologize for it, but with that being said, it's still a pretty good movie. I really personally thought it was neat. It was a great concept. It's definitely one of the good movies that I have seen that were pretty good. It's definitely one of those, good live action movies. But I definitely gotta really say it's a must have for movies. Even if you were born in the 90s and probably grew up with a lot of VHS tapes in the 90s or early 2000s, like I did in the early 2000s. So yeah, I do apologize. I'm still stuffed up because of my allergies, but despite that, I still really thought this was a pretty awesome movie. It's pretty good in my own opinion. It's got a really great concept. It's definitely one of the fewer movies that managed to do something really good and pretty amazing. So, with that being said, and that being the case, I'm going to say that this is just simply my own personal opinion on this movie. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine too, because we're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these movies. So, for those who grew up in the 90s, or even those who remember watching this movie, this is an awesome movie. I recommend you guys check it out if you haven't. It's a pretty good movie. I thought it was cute at parts of it, and it's still a pretty awesome movie, especially with the concept of it being well made. Especially with, the acting was pretty good, as well as the movie. It was just pretty good, especially with, it's a pretty awesome movie from the 90s, and I do tend to repeat myself, so that's unfortunately something I cannot control, but bear with me on this. And as always, I'm going to sit here and say right now, I recommend this movie to anybody who wants to see a really good live action movie besides Scooby-Doo. I highly recommend you check out this movie if you haven't. You will not be disappointed once you see this movie. It is flat out amazing. You will like it. It's a pretty awesome movie. A lot of 90s kids will remember this movie, and even early 2000s kids may remember this movie if they grew up with, watching Madeline. Now, anyways, with that being said, and that being the case, I'm gonna sit here and say that this is just simply my own personal opinion, and I happen to will disagree with you if you do not like this movie at all, because I respect your opinion. Now, I do plan to review the other Madeline movies, such as Madeline Lost in Paris or and My Fair Madeline in the future, but I don't know when that will be, but that will be probably whenever I have the chance. So, with that being said and that being the case, I want to say right now that I want to thank you so much for joining me in this video. And also, what do you guys personally think of this movie? Do you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make the movie a lot better. Feel free to leave me now what your thoughts are on this movie in the comments below. I do apologize for sounding stuffed up, but it's my allergies yet again. So I do apologize for me. I'm not sick or anything. It's just my allergies acting up. So yeah. Anyways, with that being said, what do you guys personally think of this movie? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make the movie a lot better. Feel free to leave me what your thoughts are down in the comments below, because I personally like to hear what you guys think. So, as always, I want to sit here and say right now, I'm the Lion Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you're new to my channel, feel free to leave this video a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out. And like always, I'll see you all next time.